Welcome to Absolutely Abundant, a podcast for soul-aligned creatives. I'm your host, 𝐥𝐢𝐤𝐞, and today we have episode 19, Growing Your Social Media Following with Alyne Tamir. Welcome, Alyne.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Yay, so excited to have you here, sister. I want to read a little bit about Alyne so you can have some background on her. Alyne is the creator behind Dear Alyne with 3 million followers around the world. At age 28, Alyne decided to start making videos about things that she felt were missing on social media. Women's issues, lesser known countries, social issues, vegetarianism, and more. She had never made a video, was divorced, unemployed, and felt like a failure. 500 million views later, she's made creation her full-time job, working with brands such as Disney, the United Nations, tourism boards, and interviewed presidents. She also runs Dear Alyne Retreats, where she gathers groups of entrepreneurial women in magical places like Bali or Tulum. She has created 4 successful courses teaching making money and creating content in her Dear Alyne Masterclass. Wow, Alyne!
Great bio.
Oh, so cool. I'm so excited to get to know you better. And I was drawn to, we actually met at a retreat ourselves with Michelle Villalobos, and we were both learning more about hosting retreats. And and I am fascinated to know how you got all of these followers. Like, let's start there, because we have a lot of entrepreneurs listening, and, they would love to know, how did you even get started doing that? I know you said you hadn't even shot videos before. So how does this work?
Yeah, so I teach a whole course that's like 20 hours about this. I'm going to give you like the distilled 1 minute, best, juiciest version I can.
Perfect.
So
and what's your course called, in case they want to get your course?
Content Creation Masterclass. That's the best class if someone wants to make video content specifically.
Perfect.
So if they want to do like posts and stuff, maybe not the most helpful.
Okay, awesome.
So this is how I started. So since I'm a kid, I love video. I have videos of me doing like YouTube trends before YouTube existed, on my parents' shoulder video camera.
Wow.
Then in high school, I studied video. So I went to school in LA. So we had a film program, and this was video, not like social media, of course, but like film, like Sony Studios was right nearby, things like that. Social media didn't really exist. Then in college, I got more interested. So a lot of YouTubers went to my college, Devin Supertramp, Lindsay Sterling. It was kind of in the air. And I used to be married. And I went to BYU, a Mormon university. So my ex-husband and I, once we were dating, we were both kind of interested in this world. We were on set with people. We were going to help them shoot. And we made a company together that did video, right?
And how old were you at that time?
I was 22.
Wow.
22 when I got married. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And right when I graduated from college and when we started the company. And so I never shot the videos though. Like I was always, doing casting, or I was doing hiring, or I was doing marketing and building email lists. But I never shot and edited, which is kind of like the main skill set you need, right? So we ended up divorcing about 3 years later. I left the Mormon church and I was kind of on a journey of discovery. And that's when I started to create content. I started dating another content creator. I was like trying to control all of his videos, like direct them, do this. And he was like, just make your own videos. So I started Dear Alyne. And that's why I mostly focus on women's issues and things like that, because I want to make videos that I feel like are not out there. And that's how it started. It didn't start as a business. It didn't start as a way to make money. It started as like a way to share a message.
I love that. And I always say, follow the fun, like follow what feels good. And it's like when we seek out to make a lot of money from something, that we can create blocks for ourselves. But it sounds like you just, tapped into what feels good for you and what feels fun. And you happen to manifest, men that helped you along the way. I love it. Like, that's perfect. Master manifester. I love it. And so Dear Alyne is a YouTube channel. So is that your main, platform that you focus on, or do you do the other platforms as well?
No, my primary platform is 100% originally Facebook.
Okay.
That's where my biggest following is. My second favorite platform is currently Instagram. Mm-hmm. And right now I'm actually focusing more on Instagram, not in order to grow it. It's just where I have the most fun, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And my YouTube is a place that I use sometimes, not that often. Sometimes I focus on it, sometimes I don't. And then finally TikTok, which is the newest platform. I don't focus on it very much, but if you're a new person, it's usually where I would suggest to go depending on the outcome you're looking for.
Awesome. And where would you recommend like what's hot right now? Like Reels and Instagram and like, people are trying to really grow their following. Like what's the hottest place to be right now?
100% the number one way to grow your following is short form content. So that can be, you can choose your platform. It can be Instagram, it can be TikTok. The hardest one always is YouTube, but you can do YouTube shorts as well. Facebook has just announced that they are now going to have Reels on Facebook. So those should be rolling out soon. As with any platform, when they introduce a new feature, that's the best time to use that feature for growth. So a few years ago when Facebook introduced Live, that's the perfect time to use Facebook Live because the platform wants you to use that feature. So they're rewarding first users by pushing them out to more people. So right now, if you're like, should I make 10-minute YouTube videos or should I make 1-minute Reels? 90% of the time I will say Reels, unless asterisk, your goal is long-term SEO based growth and you are strategically doing SEO, then obviously you should do searchable long-term content on YouTube. I hope that was a good answer, not too.
So good. So good.
Yeah.
And as far as Instagram goes, how do you know what hashtags to use? Is this just like a guessing game or is there a strategy behind hashtags?
Hashtags are the least important thing for growth, in my opinion. You should use some hashtags just so primarily the algorithm knows where to push you. I mean, you don't really need to use all 30 anymore. When you're choosing hashtags, my favorite strategy is to look at your hero accounts. So look at accounts that are the type of account you want to be and look at the hashtags they are using and take those because they probably already did the research for you, right? But in general, again, when you're using a hashtag, you don't want to go for the most popular hashtags. So if you're in Bali, right? Everyone goes to Bali. You don't want to use hashtag Bali, right? So you want to type Bali and then you want to look at, let's say the most popular hashtags are 800,000 uses, 900,000 people have used this hashtag. It shows you when you search it. So for anyone listening that's panicking how to find this, it's there. It shows you. Don't go to those. Don't go to the ones that have 100, 200. Go to the ones with like 10 to 50,000, right? Go to the ones where someone is more likely to find you and not be flooded, right? So that's how you should be choosing hashtags. But hashtags are definitely not the number one way to grow. It's just like one of many small things you kind of should be doing. But it's not the main thing.
And what does a day in your life look like as the lead of Dear Alyne? Like, do you have a whole team now that leads this? Because I think there's a lot of fear behind success and growing the following. Like, people are like, oh, will I be able to manage it all? Or, how I'm not going to have time for my loved ones anymore. Like, what does your life really look like now that you have millions of followers?
I do everything currently alone. I used to have a small team, but like you really don't need that big of a team. So when I grew Dear Alyne, I didn't get any help until probably 2 million followers. And then it was just consistent. Like I was shooting, editing, scripting, everything by myself. Yeah.
And do you love all parts of that? Like, do you love all parts, or is it something that this is your business, this is your baby? As entrepreneurs, a lot of us feel that way. Or do you legitimately love spending time on all these things? Or is it something that you would prefer to outsource?
I mean, at the beginning, truly, I never looked at it as a business until maybe 1.5 million followers. Wow. Really, the first year, I wouldn't even turn on ads. I didn't have ads turned on. I didn't accept brand deals. I just wanted to talk about things that I cared about, and I wanted them to reach the most people, 100%. And I think that's why I grew so fast, is because you could feel that there was no agenda involved. It was not a business, right?
Yeah.
Now it is a business. Do I love everything I do? So let's say I wake up, half the year I'm traveling, right? So I'm on the road, I'm in different countries. Let's say I'm home in Dubai where I live right now. So I wake up today, 9 a.m., not an early riser. I had an interview. I'm interviewing all week because I'm hiring. I sit with her for 4 hours, kind of give her assignments, check on them while I'm doing my own stuff. I'm sending out emails to the email list. I'm responding to brand pitch emails. I just had a meeting right before this. That's why I was 2 minutes late with a girl that I'm interviewing to help me with reels. You guys can totally hire people to help with reels and TikToks. That's like the fun thing is you can't really hire someone to help you with like a long form video normally, unless they're very expensive, but you totally can hire young like college kids to help you with reels and TikToks. And it's
And do
something
they
that
post it for you, or do you send them content and they post it, or they give you help with like strategy, things like that? Because I know the younger people are much more attuned to all the social media strategies.
All day anyways for free,
Right.
I mean, the best way to do it, in my opinion, is to find someone who will help you batch the content.
Okay.
So find someone and then explain your brand, have them research your brand. They should shoot with you, 7 reels on a Sunday or on a Monday. Then they can upload it for you. They can edit it and upload it for you. Monday, 1 reel, Tuesday, 1 reel. That way you kind of, every time you post a reel, it's another chance to go viral. So the more, the better, right? At least, I mean, 1 a day is not too much, right?
And what does it mean to go viral? What's the amount that is considered viral?
So virality is relative to your page. So if it's like your first post ever and you get like 100,000 views, that's definitely viral. If I get 100,000 views, that's Monday, right? Because my account has on Instagram 300,000 followers. So that's very normal relative to the followers. If you have 10,000 followers and you're consistently getting 10,000 views, that's not viral. But if you get, 200,000 views, it's viral. And there's levels of virality, right? There's like little viral that's like, yay, fun. And then there's massive viral that's like 10 million, right? So it's relative to your page.
That's so cool. And what I'm hearing from you is like, it's really about intention, like if you're doing it to educate or inspire or, really uplift people, help people's lives in some way, your reach is going to be so much more than if you're, how many people can I get to sign up for my program? Like people can feel your intention. So it sounds like that's, you started out with just doing things that drew you, that you're passionate about. And what are some of the topics that you're most passionate about sharing on your platforms?
I think the main topics currently are with female empowerment, and specifically when it comes to financial empowerment, because I've done videos on a lot of female issues, like kind of serious issues like marital rape or domestic abuse or female genital mutilation, like not the fun topics you normally see on Instagram and Facebook, right?
Yeah.
And what I learned through making those videos, like my conclusion out of every video was the way to help women is not by training men differently. It's by giving women money so they can leave their, families where the father's abusing them. So they can leave their family where the husband is abusing them. Even in the US, I have friends who are married, and in the US, you're like, oh, they're fine. You see them, you're like, everything's fine. And their partners are using money to control them, right? So that's kind of the conclusion I came to. I was like, I can make videos all day that get 20, 30, 40, 50 million views about these issues. And what's really going to change it is if I help women make money. So that's kind of my goal right now.
Wow, sister, we have a very similar mission, that I actually was in that place myself of, being in a partnership that I knew was no longer for me, and I didn't make enough money to leave, and I had 2 children, and I was like, what am I going to do? And the divine stepped in and was like, this, go down the intuitive reading path. And I started doing that. And that's when all the cash came in, and the money is freedom. It's not just money to buy things. Money is freedom of choice, freedom to leave an unhealthy situation, whatever that looks like for you. It doesn't have to be abusive. To me, if you're in a partnership where you just don't feel connected, you got to go, like we're not here to be we're not here to be uninspired and to feel unseen, unappreciated. We're here to feel alive and enjoy. And if we don't feel that way, money can help you get out and go somewhere else. And it's just more opportunity. So I would love to hear more about that. How did you come to be more passionate about that? Do you have a similar story, where you felt that way yourself? Like what led you to say, this is what I'm helping women with primarily?
I mean, in my situation, in my marriage, like I definitely felt afraid that I wouldn't do as well. Like I wouldn't like I felt like lack of knowledge, right? I felt blind spots. I didn't feel my partner wasn't abusive or anything like that. It was just more like I felt kind of like internalized misogyny, where I'm like, as a woman, like, how am I going, like, I know how to do this stuff in this system, but on my own, am I going to be able to do it? Right. And I didn't have kids or anything. So I didn't, have those same concerns. The thing that really turned me onto it, it was just the taste of that feeling let me know what it's like. And then when I started traveling, so then I started going to countries that, a lot of people don't go to, or they go to and they just see the surface, like Pakistan. I'm going to India, and a lot of my followers live in these countries, in India, in South America, in Peru. And I went to Peru and I had a women's meetup, right? And you know what the whole meetup was about? Horrible experiences they've had with men, right? With family members, with people, their partners, with people on the street. And I was like, man, a lot of times in the US, we see women in other countries and we totally do care about them, what we don't connect with them. We're like, oh, it's different for those women in Bangladesh. They're different from us somehow, right? Kind of like with the war in Ukraine, people care more because they're like, oh, Ukrainians are like us. In the news, they're saying stuff like, oh, it's not those Middle Easterners, right? So I was with these women. I'm having meetups with them. I'm like, holy crap. Like, imagine this was me and like nobody cared and nobody did anything. And so that was my motivation, is meeting them face to face and being like, I'm so privileged. Like, you're so privileged. Anyone with a US passport is so privileged. Like, we can travel the world without a visa. I have friends way more intelligent, way more educated, and way wealthier than me sometimes in other countries. It's not even a money thing, but because of their visa, they can't go anywhere. Like, they have to pay hundreds of dollars to apply for a visa that may be rejected. Like, crazy. So that was kind of my impetus that made me be like, this is not fair.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love what you're doing. I feel your passion. I feel your genuine concern for women, and we are all one. It's to see ourselves as separate is dangerous, because we are all one. We come from the same source. We are one, and allowing them to have that space to speak and to share what's really going on is so healing. And, there's things all over the world that, we turn a blind eye to because it's too painful, or that's not me, or whatever our reasons are. But I love that you're shedding light, and shining the light on these things that are happening, and that are real for women. So beautiful work. I love that. And as far as, how else can you support our listeners? I know you host retreats. If you could tell us a little bit more about that, if they're interested in your retreats.
Sure. So the retreats that I do in person, I do them in different places around the world. They can just follow the Instagram account, Dear Alyne Retreats, DearAlyne Retreats. That's kind of where I post them. They're not planned. It's not like every August, every June. And this, I know where it's going to be. It depends on my mood. They are mood-based retreats. But what we do is it's usually like around 20 women. We go somewhere. We have workshops. Like, the women who come, they also offer workshops, right? We talk about like how to run your own Airbnb. We talk about, we do women's circles. So it's a mixture of entrepreneurship, fun and friendship, and definitely learning and workshops. Because when I used to look up other retreats, it was always like all yoga or all business. And I was like, I want a mixture.
Yeah.
And I was also so sick of just being on my computer and like making videos and never hanging out with people. And so I kind of started them to make friends, and it's worked. So
I love it. And you get to travel, like, who does it, like, freedom. Like, I feel so much freedom from you, Oh, I love it, sister. And I know you have a free gift for us. It's called the Media Kit. Can you explain what that is and how we can use that?
Sure. So the Media Kit is essentially, if you are trying to be a content creator or do anything online, you want to have a media kit. And your media kit doesn't necessarily, you can adapt it to what you're doing. So you, Julie, could have a media kit, right? If you're pitching podcast guests that, are harder for you to get, you could say, here's my media kit. Here's who I've interviewed, right? Here's how many listens my podcast get, or whatever the best numbers are. And this is something you can be attaching to emails. You can be sending in Instagram DMs. It's essentially like a very fancy calling card meant to convince people you are great. Or if you're hosting a retreat somewhere, you can be like, hey, here's the people I've worked with before. I'd love to do, like, could you give us a discount on the food and beverage or whatever? So a media kit's something you should always have on hand and kind of just attach to anything where you're trying to kind of push someone in the direction of working with you. And there's a guide. I'll be sending everyone a guide. Make sure you look at it through the lens of whatever you're working on, listeners, right? If you're like, oh, this person does videos and I don't do videos. Of course, not everyone does the same thing. So plug and play with your skill set. If you're a writer, show the work you've written, et cetera, et cetera.
Beautiful. Oh, I love it. I love it so much. And where can people find you online?
My main places are Dear Alyne, DearAlyne, Instagram, YouTube. My favorite is Instagram, Facebook, all the places. And yeah, if they want to be on the email list, that's just in my link in bio. And that's kind of where I announce retreats and stuff, is just my email list.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to put all of those links in the show notes from the episode, along with the free gift from Alyne. I am so happy to have gotten to talk with you today, sister. I can't wait to look at the media kit and, to follow you all over the world. It's so fun to live vicariously, through people who are doing this and, living that freedom life. I love it so much. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I hope it was helpful.
Awesome. Thank you so much, sister. And we'll see you all next week. Bye.